Good evening and welcome to tonight's meeting of the North Planning Committee. Apologise, we are slightly late running following the previous meeting running slightly longer than we had hoped. I'm Councillor Eddie Lavery, the Committee Chairman. I'm going to start, please, with apologies for absence.
We've received apologies from Councillor Higgins and also from Councillor Melvin. We have Councillor Steve Tuckwell substituting.
Thank you very much. Declarations of interest. Do you want to cover that one, James?
My presenting officer lives close to one of the application sites, so I'm going to present item 6. Although Matt hasn't commented on the application, we thought for probity reasons better I present, and Matt will leave the room for that item, and that's item 6.
But please don't go wandering too far, because we will need you very quickly after
Thank you,
that.
Chairman.
Can I take the minutes of the previous meeting as agreed? Thank you very much. We are taking the agenda that was published by the Head of Planning. Items 6 to 11 are in part 1 because it's in public. They will also be on the Council's YouTube website, so welcome to those who are sitting out of this tonight but viewing on there. Item 12 is an enforcement matter and take it in private, and I will cut the YouTube feed before that goes through. In terms of the running order of tonight's meeting, it is as per the plan. I think most people are familiar with how we work. For the petition items, which is 6, 7 and 8, petitioners get 5 minutes to address committee, as do applicants or their agents, and as do ward councillors get 3, and I know Councillor Morgan's at the back of the room is intending to speak on item 8, I believe. Nobody else has indicated they wish to speak. Watch the traffic lights as you're speaking, because you get 4 minutes green, 1 minute amber, and I will stop you when you get to red. People may ask questions about what you've said, and they may not. There are a number of people who, for various reasons to do with the current health emergency, are unable to be with us tonight. So on a number of occasions I will be reading statements on behalf of various parties to the committee, but I'll make it clear who these are statements they would have made had they been able to join us. For clarity in relation to 17 Woodgate, we've got petitions both in support and in and in objection. Have we got anything from the... Yeah, the objectors, I believe, are here, correct. The petition support, I believe, comes from the applicant anyway, so the applicant has 5 minutes. You don't get a double go at this. So I'll take 5 minutes in objection, 5 minutes in support, and then I'll take the ward councillor's comments on top of that. That's a reasonable way forward. Okay. The voting... I nearly forgot health and safety. I've been doing this so long, I forget occasionally. Mobile phones, please switch off or to silent. Fire exits where you came in, and then straight through the doors and down the stairs, or there's one in this corner hidden behind me. That covers health and safety off. And mobile phones, please. Voting members of committee tonight. Obviously, we have slightly less because we've got 1 or 2 absentees. I'll work up the table from my right: Councillor Tuckwell, Councillor Hagger, Councillor Goddard, and the Vice Chairman, Councillor Flynn. And then on my left, I have Councillor Oswald, Councillor Sansapuri, and Councillor Dott. You may notice people are slightly more spread out where we can tonight because we're doing a little social distancing. It's not that we don't dislike people, it's we're trying to create a little separation where we can achieve it. The cameras, by the way, face this way, and you're only visible when you're at that table, apart from the officer team. Alan Tilley is doing highways tonight. Matt Kalashevsky is our presenter, apart from the first item. James Roger, the head of planning, officer's advice, and becomes a presenter for tonight as well. Liz Penny is our clerk. Kelly Munro is dealing with the legal matters. Right, so I'm going to move, without any further comments, item 6, thank you very much, which is a telecom mast at the junction of Swathes Drive and Warren Road, Ickenham, page 7 of your bundle.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, this is for the installation of a 20-metre high monopole with ancillary works. Obviously 20 metres is quite high, and what we tend to do with the telecommunications equipment is that there is government guidance that encourages councils to support such proposals, albeit we need to balance the impact on the surrounding street scene and environment. And what that tends to mean is that, broadly speaking, in a more urban setting, a 20-metre monopole is likely to have less harmful impacts on the street scene and is more likely to be acceptable. However, in this case, the particular street scene where this proposal is intended to be erected is surrounded by Greenbelt and Ickenham Village Conservation Area, and it is anything but urban in character. It's a quite leafy part of the borough, and the effect of this is that it will be a very prominent monopole in the street scene. I'll take members to the slides. So this is the location at the junction of Swakeley's Drive and One Road in Ickenham. Members will note that it's on the edge of green space. I'll get to... So it's a 20-metre monopole. I don't know if you can see slightly to the right, there's a street light, so you get an idea of the scale compared with the street light to the right of that slide. So there is trees, however it's so tall it will be noticeably above the tree line, the proposal. So I can just to clarify that point, an officer's opinion, the 20 metres would put this well above the tree line. So it's almost the polar opposite of a very urban street scene in this particular case. And the application is recommended for refusal. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, the petitioner in objection on this one can't be with us tonight, but has asked that I read the following. This application must be at least the fourth attempt to place a telecom mast at the junction of Warren Road and Swakeley's Drive, close to a footpath and near a small tree. Local residents have opposed the applications each time, because the siting of a mast on that corner would blight the street scene unnecessarily, and there are more suitable places for this development. The Code of Best Practice on Mobile Network Development in England, published in November 2016, includes recommendations for the siting of masts. The Code advises on ways by which the potential for environmental and visual impact of ground masts can be greatly reduced, including by placing a mast within or adjacent to an existing group of trees. The Code also advises that care should be taken to avoid the unnecessary loss of existing trees. We consider that the site adjacent to the nearby existing cabinets on the edge of the wooded area beside the River Pin would more closely follow the Code's guidance. The applicants do not have the same easy access to power as they would at their proposed site, but why should they not bear the cost of following the Code's recommendations? Thank you. Members? Councillor Tuckwell.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think whilst I'd like to be sympathetic to sort of infrastructure improvements, the location of this and the size of it and where it sits in the conservation area on the edge of the Greenbelt is wholly inappropriate. So that's my view.
Councillor Oswald.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I'll move the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Goddard, will you second? Thank you. All those in favour of refusal, please clearly show me. Thank you very much. Unanimously refused. Thank you, Councillor Morgan. If you would just retrieve the officer from outside, that would be helpful. Enable us to move on. I now move to item 7, which is land between 2 and 6 Woodside Road, Northwood. This is an application to vary conditions and is retrospective, I believe. Are you able to show us, I think the key to this is particularly the windows on the side.
Yep, sure.
Are you able to show us what has been done?
So I've got a slide here. So this shows you what was approved. Now the key changes, there are internal layout changes which don't affect the planning consideration, but the main changes externally. So the drawings here show you what was approved. This is what's been built and what we're assessing today. So in effect, what's happened on this elevation, you'll see that there still is one window at ground floor level and a window at first floor level, except they've just moved location. Similarly, on this elevation, the 3 windows here have stayed in the same position, and the 2 separate windows have become one larger window. We don't actually have the photos on. This is the building as built. I can show you. Can't quite see the side. You can see the side window. It's not quite clear from these photos, but I've received photos from the applicant and from the agent, and they clearly show that all the windows that have been inserted on the side are obscure glazed and non-openable below a height of 1.8 metres. So in essence, that's the difference between the approved scheme and this one. On what's been built, on the addendum, there's a number of conditions that were previously put on the original permission, and now we need to put them back onto this one. So just for completeness, we've added them on, and for that reason, it is recommended that the application be approved.
Okay, I have a petition on this one, an objection. The Gateshead Residents Association who raised the petition are not here tonight, but have asked that I read the following. When the planning inspector gave permission for this new house to be built on a back garden, he set 13 conditions, several of which have been ignored by the builder. Tonight's application stressed some of those breaches, particularly as the property is now occupied, having stood empty for 18 months or so. We'd like to put on record our thanks to the enforcement team for persuading the applicant to amend his plans to ensure that all side-facing windows will now be obscure glazed and non-opening below 1.8 metres, comply with the planning inspector's conditions to this new house. We've been advised by Matt Kalashevsky there will be an addendum requiring conditions 6, 7, 9 and 10 the inspector's approval notice to be carried forward to the approval notice of this application if approved by the committee, and we thank him for this, and that's the addendum that Matt drew your attention to. The officer's comment in 7.21 of the report asks for expediency enforcement action to be taken. This is most welcome. In view of the actions taken by officers, we have no further objections to this application. So I think I'll leave it at that. I presume there's nobody, I can't see anybody here on behalf of the agent or the applicant for this one. No, I'm just checking. Right, in that case, can I take it to members? I think it's very straightforward. Councillor Duncan. Councillor Flynn, sorry.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I mean, if we're hearing from the objectors that they don't have any further issues, so as long as officers are confident that the obscure glazing is now in place, I'm happy to go with officers' recommendation.
Okay, Councillor Hagger. Good. All those in favour, please show me. That one's approved. Thank you very much. Right, I now move to 17 Woodgate Crescent, Northwood, and I do need a presentation on this one, Matt.
Thank you, Chairman. This application was previously before members in November of last year. The application this time seeks permission for the retention of a single-storey extension to the rear of an existing storage building. This results in a shared structure which extends approximately 8.2 metres in depth. To show members through the slides, the location. I think once I get to the photos, or plans, you may recall this. It's pre-existing, proposed, and you can see the extension there. I'll get back to that slide in a minute. Photos, this is the neighbouring house. The application house, number 17. This is the extension to the outbuilding as viewed from number 15, the next door neighbour property. Members may recall this. I'll just try and... So what the difference, the main difference between what was refused previously and now is that this sort of camouflage netting has been put on the side elevation by the applicant, and to all other intents and purposes, the application is exactly the same as was previously refused. Some more photos are showing you again, that's the back of the extension. This is a view from the back down, so this is actually the extension is the element down here. We're not assessing this bit, it's the element down there. Sorry, that's it. And I'll just show members again the photos from the garden. The only other real difference is that some of the vegetation had previously been cut back to allow the applicant to build the outbuilding, or extend the outbuilding, has grown back to an extent. However, this is taken sort of standing at the end of the patio area, if you like, the courtyard area of the application site, and as you can see, the elevation is still visible, still has an impact as previously considered. You can see from different angles it is perhaps a little more screened. However, again, that's from the back of the garden looking back at number 15, but when viewed from close by the house, it is still highly visible. I think the extension is considered to fail to harmonise with the architectural composition of the existing outbuilding, and is considered to be detrimental to the character, appearance and visual amenities of the Gatehill Farm estate and Northwood area of special local character. The existing extension and the addition of the camouflage netting do not, in officer's opinion, overcome the previous reasons for refusal. Just take members to the addendum. There is just a small note in there referring to the receipt of comments from 9 properties in support of the application and the petition as well, with a total of 100 signatories. I believe members have seen that as well. For the reasons, another point is we have received the petitioner's photographs on the PowerPoint, the applicant's PowerPoint. The PowerPoint that is on there does not have all the accompanying text that was provided, but this was circulated separately to members, and I understand members have all seen that. So for the reasons summarised, it is recommended that the application be refused. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. I'll start with the petition we'll do a bit of a sandwich. I'll start with petition and objection, and then we'll move to the other, and then the ward councillor can pick up the issues at the end. We're having to do a bit of juggling of laptops here because these have been running for quite some time. Right, that puts the lights back on. Yeah, press the red button. The two are not connected. It's just we need to get the timing done, and we didn't have any way of doing it without losing our power. Okay, whenever you're ready, please.
Okay, good evening, Chairman and committee members. My name is Oliver Hahn, and I'm here representing my mother Hilary, the owner and occupier of 15 Woodgate Crescent. My mother sends her apologies as not being able to attend this evening due to the prevailing risk of COVID-19 to the frail and elderly. You may well be experiencing déjà vu with this application, as this committee voted unanimously to refuse an application for this shed extension last November. I previously addressed the Planning Committee in regard to this subject. For the sake of brevity, we stand by those comments, and we believe the situation to be unchanged since the addition of some nylon camouflage netting to 3/4 of the side of the building in question does not change any material consideration or fact. We further support the case officer's recommendation for refusal after his visit to the site, where he was able to review and measure the building in person rather than relying on third-party documentation and/or submissions which may or may not be accurate. The applicant has suggested in his design and access statement that there is some similarity between an application for a 12-turbine wind farm in the Scottish Highlands and this outbuilding in a residential area of special local character. I'm sorry, we just don't see the relevance. Whilst both the applicants and my mother now have an unpleasant view of the neighbouring St John's Sports Hall, I must point out that it is the applicants themselves who have cut down numerous trees which previously screened the view of the hall. This is a further loss of amenity for my mother inflicted on her. In addition, the Gatehill Residents Association has asked me to read out a brief statement from them along with their apologies for absence. The association is surprised that the applicants believe that attaching camouflage netting to part of the sidewall of the building will overcome the 2 refusal reasons which this committee agreed last November. There has been no change to the size, scale, bulk or siting of the building. We urge the committee and members to refuse this application, and we ask that the council Council's enforcement officers will take action as was asked of them in the November meeting. We thank you for your consideration of this matter.
Okay, thank you. That's very clear. Do members have any questions? No? Thank you very much indeed. There is a petition, but it's effectively the applicant, so if the applicants would like to come forward and present their case. When you're ready.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Just for clarity, the petition in support is separate by an independent resident of Woodgate Crescent and not myself. So it is separate, although I have provided information that they requested. Okay, can I have slides? Slide number 1, please. The extension, next slide, please. You can see that the extension is at the rear of the existing storage shed and cannot be seen from any public viewpoint. The second slide shows a depth of 5 meters and a height, maximum height of 2.75 meters, which is well below the 3-meter height guidance. This also passes the 25-degree test. Next slide, please. The extension extends the building line by about 2 meters. Next slide, please. This is probably the most important slide. Basically, what I'm saying there is that there are multiple criteria for permitted development guidelines. This building that we've built meets all the criteria bar 1, which is the depth. And the national planning guidelines is 8 meters. We built an extension which is 5 meters. Next view, please. So it's not a very good image that you can see, but you can see that the shed, which is existing shed, which is shown in yellow, and the red is the extension. Please note that the extension is screened by heavy screening between the extension and number 15 by a row of pine trees. Next slide is a closer view of the same, still showing the screening between the two properties. Next slide, please. I put in this slide to show that the extension is well within our boundary, contrary to claims made otherwise last time. The relative orientation of the extension is important to note. The extension can only be viewed from the secondary windows of number 15. The primary views are not affected at all. It passes the 45-degree test. Next slide, please. The extension is 8.7 meters away. This is a large separation and diminishes any claims of overbearing effect. Next slide, please. So this is an older photograph showing the view from number 15. Please note that the extension is to the left of the photo and it's almost entirely screened by the existing trees and shrubs. The bit that you can see on the right is actually the existing storage shed. None of the other buildings can be seen from this view. Next slide, please. This is the camouflage netting, which now covers the flank wall. We haven't seen, despite all the claims, a recent photograph which shows this in place from their house. I haven't seen any such thing. So why is that? Next slide, please. This photograph shows that the extension itself cannot be seen from any public viewpoint. We're at the end of a cul-de-sac and nobody else can see it except number 15. Next slide, please. So, in light of all of the previous that I've said, we are strongly of the view that this small extension does not have any detrimental effect on the residential amenities of the neighbour, nor any detrimental effect on the appearance and character of the Gatehill Farms estate. Next slide, please. Okay. I think there's some slides missing. We'd put up 3 slides to show that our views were also shared by Diane Verona, a senior planning officer with 20 years experience. She had sent an email recommending approval. We also had another slide up which showed that Planning team manager Matt Kay also independently recommended approval. This is evidenced by an email that's there in the public domain now. The diagram on the right, the photo on the right shows the sports hall, which is significantly dominant over the views of our property. The same committee concluded last time that refusal on the grounds of over-dominance and loss of outlook could not be justified. So in conclusion, the extension cannot be seen from any public viewpoint and has absolutely no negative impact on the appearance or character of the wider Gatehill estate. It has no material impact on the residential amenity of the neighbouring property. It is...
We are red, so can I draw you to a close, please?
Okay.
Okay, do members have any questions? No, thank you very much indeed. I can invite Councillor Morgan as ward councillor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, committee members. This seems a regular place for me at the moment. It would be nice to come to a North Planning Committee without having to come and speak. Always welcome every time. 17 Woodgate Crescent. If we compare what we've got now to what we had back in November, there is absolutely no change other than some nylon or plastic netting that's been attached to the side wall. It's still bulk, size, height, and in many ways over-domineering on the neighbouring property. I'd like to thank the officers for their report. I'm not going to waste much more of your time on this, and I hope that the committee here fully supports the officers' recommendations and refuse this application, because there is no difference between the two applications. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I think there are no questions. If I draw members' attention to a couple of things, the key with this one is this committee has already considered all the issues with this and refused it. The only change now for you to reflect on, effectively, is whether the addition of the netting changes your view as to whether this is an item for refusal. The officer report is clear, and let me be crystal clear for the record. The reports we consider is the reports before us. The views of any individual planning officer expressed in any form, in any email, is not relevant to us. What is relevant is the considered view, having taken into account all planning matters of the planning team. And that is what we always consider, and that report is before you. And with that, I'll open it to Councillor Flynn and then Councillor Oswald.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As we've heard, we can only go on what we the changes compared to the previous application, and ostensibly, it's very evident in that photograph that these changes are very minimal. And I just appeal really to the applicant. You gave a very eloquent presentation, and I just hope you can work with the council officers to come up with something that could be acceptable here. But this, to me, is not it. So I have to go with officers' recommendation.
Councillor Oswald.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Yeah, likewise. I mean, I made a note on here before Councillor Morgan spoke that the last time we determined this is pretty much the same now. There's no real difference, Chairman. So I think there's been no real change apart from some netting, and I don't find that's really acceptable. So I'm quite happy to second the officer's recommendation.
Okay, I am proposing seconded. I will just give nobody else is indicating they want to come in. So I'm proposing seconded that we support the officer recommendation for refusal. All those in favour of refusal, please clearly show me. Thank you very much indeed. That one is refused. I now move to item 9, which is Harefield Hospital, Hill End Road, Harefield, and the creation of 2 formal hospital gardens. which I think may find some favour amongst members, I would hope.
Thank you,
Far
Chairman.
be it for me to prejudice your views.
So, thank you,
Matt,
Chairman.
yeah, please, yeah.
As the Chairman just said, the proposal is for the formation of 2 hospital gardens to be provided adjacent to the main hospital entrance on Hill End Road. The submitted plans show the main healing garden to the north. I'll take members to the north of the access road, and will comprise wavy beds of planting, unmown grass and bulbs and lawn, together with new hedging and tree planting, and also a transplant garden works on the southern area, so we've got the northern area and the southern area. Transplant garden on the southern area of the site involving new boundary hedging and ornamental planting. I'll just take members through the slides if they wish to see what that's going to look like, and just a few photos to show you the area where it is now. That's the bin store that you will all be familiar with. The application site comprises 2 irregular shaped plots within the hospital grounds sited either side of the main entrance. The whole site lies within the Greenbelt, the Colne Valley Regional Park and the Colne Valley Archaeological Priority Area. The Council's Conservation and Urban Design Officer has assessed the proposal and advises that the creation of 2 landscaped hospital gardens either side of the entrance would significantly alter the appearance of the spaces, but the change is considered to be a positive one and an enhancement of the site entrance, and therefore they raise no objections. Furthermore, the proposed gardens mainly involve new planting and landscaping treatments to make the areas more accessible and usable for staff, patients and their visitors. It is therefore considered that the proposed gardens would not result in any harmful impact upon the character of the Greenbelt. And for the reasons summarised, it is recommended that the application be approved. Thank you, Chairman.
Councillor
Thank you, Chairman. I see nothing to object to in this one, so therefore I move Officer's recommendation.
Councillor Dott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm happy to move the second.
You're happy to second as I have a move. Councillor Santapura, were you going to do the same thing? Yeah. You were. Oh, that's good. I like some. Has anybody got any other views on this one? I mean, I think it's a good scheme and a nice scheme. All those in favour, please clearly show me. Thank you very much. The next item I'm happy to take without a presentation. It's changed with no changes to externals from an A1 shop to a beauty salon, which happens to be a sui generis use under planning terms, but you know, to me looks very similar to a retail use, so I can't really see a problem with it unless anybody else wants Matt to go all the way through it. Will somebody give me a proposal? Thank you, Councillor Tuckworth. And a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Hagger. All those in favour, please show me. Thank you very much. That one's approved. For Cunningham Drive, Matt, would you just give us a short resume of this one? There's a little bit of planting, I seem to remember.
Thank you, Chairman. Again, this is a site that application that came before committee for enforcement. They paved over the entire front garden, well, which is not very big anyway. Not saying much. And this current proposal, if I can find the plans, bear with me 1 second. I'll just pointer isn't working too well. In essence, this is what has been done, and there will be some hedge planting all the way around reinstated. And the council's landscape officer has raised no objection to this, and also the council's floodwater management officer has raised no objections, as they're satisfied there's sufficient planting that will result in no drainage issues. And for those reasons, it is recommended that the application be approved. Thank you, Chairman.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. It seems like an improvement, so I'm happy to go with Officer's recommendation.
A second to Councillor Santapuri. Go on. Yes? Thank you. Nobody's got any other views on this one, I'm taking it, because I haven't seen any more hands. All those in favour, please clearly show me. Thank you very much indeed. Before I move to item 12, can I please ask officers to cut the YouTube feed and confirm that we are therefore right.